Okay, here we go. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So, hey there. Today, special guest, one of my very best friends, Kathy Hansen, is here. And we're going to talk about a situation that happened to her recently. She shared it with me about 3 weeks ago, I think. And we decided that it would be something that would be good to speak about with you. Because maybe I think that other people have had the situation, might be an area for some insight. So
Yeah.
welcome.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. And I just want to say that Karen and I have been friends for over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, occasionally she calls me Alex and I call her Fred. But now you know that that's our
Because we
nicknames
party
for each
together.
other. And we're not talking about someone not in the room. And if you see me down here with my hand like this, it's because Toby's down here and I'm petting him.
So we have 2 dogs and 2 girls, and we're just gonna go with this. Keep it informal, but we're gonna have a conversation about something that we feel is important. So, so I have this letter, and I'll give my interpretation of the letter because I'm
going to give a little
background of what happened.
Background of the letter.
Go for it.
So I belong to this organization. It's a lot of World War II veterans. I'm not that old, but I've volunteered with them for 18 years. And the president of the organization received a letter from someone who wanted to join the organization because his feelings were hurt because he was not accepted into the World War II organization based on some of his behavior in the past. And so in the letter that he wrote, he's complaining about me being a lesbian. Hello. Most people know I am. And so do I need any more background than that, or do you think that was good enough?
Yeah, I
think
there's
a lot that...
Like she's been volunteering with this organization. I'll give my interpretation of your interpretation. Okay?
Great, perfect.
So my bud Alex / Kathy here, she's been volunteering with this organization for 18 years. This guy has been volunteering with the organization for a couple of years. And it's exclusive. They don't just let people in. Like really, it is a very controlled and proud group of World War II veterans, as it should be. And so to even be like an honorary member is a big deal. So that's when she came to me, like he did not get accepted into the organization, but she didn't really even know that at the time. And then she saw a letter from him that pretty much blamed her and 2 other women for the reason why he wasn't accepted into the group. And the president of the organization is the one that made the final decision because the guy had made sexist, racist, and homophobic comments. And it just, at that point when he learned those things, it didn't feel good to him anymore to have him as a member of the group. Is that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the guy wrote a letter, and it was passed to... You saw it.
I walked into a board meeting for this organization, and I think it's important to say, even though we said World War II, that the average age of the men in this organization is 97 years old. So just so you have the thought
they're not very liberal.
Yeah, it's a totally different generation. And so I did 30 years in the Navy and under Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So I had this fear, and I think this is important, that when I retired, that they would reject me, that these World War II guys would reject me because I knew I was going to come out when I retired, and which they did not. They didn't reject me. I had volunteered with them for so many years. They loved me. Most of the time they said they didn't care, and sometimes they would say, we don't get it. But that plays in my mind every time a situation comes up about these World War II veterans.
About feeling like you could get rejected.
Feeling like I might get rejected by them. Yes.
Okay, which is very, I think, that's a big deal for all of us, because I think anytime we come out to somebody, at least those of us that had to be closeted for so long in the military, there is that thing that says we're not going to be accepted. At least that's been my experience too. You guys know that because I've talked about it. So there's a letter.
So, geez, I forgot. You
Okay.
had asked me a question.
So there's the letter. So you get the letter. You see the letter, and the letter starts
That's
out.
where I was going. Sorry. I walked into a board meeting and was reading the letter to a couple people on the board of this organization.
It's okay.
Reading the letter.
I'm gonna blank out names, okay, just so you know.
To a couple people in the organization, and when he first started reading the letter, I could feel myself saying, "Well, that's okay. It's that person's opinion." The first paragraph, and then the second paragraph, I started to get a little uncomfortable, and then as he got into really kind of what I felt like bashing me for being a lesbian or gay people altogether, then I felt myself, my mood shifted, and I started to get angry and self-righteous instead of saying, what his opinion is doesn't matter. And then eventually, when Stu started to finish reading the letter, I could feel myself getting upset, and I said, all my life I feel like people have been trying to shame me, and I started crying, and I was like, oh geez, like this deep-seated feeling that we have after hiding for so many years. And then I talked to a couple other people that came into the room after that, and I could feel myself just wanting to repeat the story, and I wanted people to, at the time I didn't know what I wanted from them. I wanted them to be angry with me and self-righteous and be as mad about this letter as I was. Mm-hmm. And then I left there, and I got home, and I talked to my partner and my niece and told them about it, and I was upset, and they said, why do you care what he says about you? And at that moment I got a little angry. I didn't tell them, but in my mind I was like, what do you mean? I got a little puffed up, like, well, of course it matters, what he's saying about me. I've volunteered with these guys, and I've done so much for them for all these years, and got a little, what's the word? Self-righteous anger. Oh, there's another word. Resentful towards the guy. And then I met up with some friends that night, and I talked about it more, and really didn't come to any peace with it until I talked to you after the meetup. And my friend Fred here has this way of asking questions that make me, and I think a lot of other people, really dig deep and look at our motives. And you asked me a couple questions, and I don't remember exactly how it came out. Or maybe it didn't come out right then. It didn't come out until I was driving home. I realized that the questions you were asking me, what I was doing by polling all those people was trying to get them to tell me that I was okay. Yeah. And that, that yes, I should be. I was trying to get everybody on my side when I really didn't need to do that. And then, like we talked about, I am a people pleaser. Yeah. And so I wanted everyone to, tell me I was okay.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say, so on the way home, it was like a light bulb going on in the car. I was like, whoa, I am trying to get people to tell me I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm okay. It was such a freaking moment for me to really say, I am okay, and it doesn't matter. But it took what it took, right?
Yeah.
Which, probably until that time it was 10 hours or 12 hours. And it's pretty amazing when you can go through a process like that and come to the end of it and say, I am okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty amazing. Anyways, that's
your spin.
That's the synopsis. Okay. Now Fred's going to put it in more eloquent terms.
I'm not. Actually, that was perfect. I mean, I think one of the things that that I recall from that, because that was 3 weeks ago and I have a horrible memory, was, he made statements about, one of the guys is a religious minister, and he says, I know you're good friends, but you as a religious minister know the truth, and you condemn homosexuality, same as any God-fearing person would. However, if you challenged her, she would probably walk away and cause you trouble. So I think what you have is you have to take in the perspective of a guy who's just been rejected. And it doesn't mean that he's right. It just means that he's feeling rejected, and so he's lashing out. And he's lashing out at a place where it's going to hit home for you.
Right.
Right.
And that paragraph you just read, in my mind, I said, how dare he say that I would cause problems for that organization, because that's not something I would do. But that isn't even the point.
No.
Right.
It's his opinion. And I think what we talked about that night is people are going to have opinions of us. And they're going to be good and bad opinions. So you could say like, you're so wonderful because you volunteered with this organization for 18 years. You were so wonderful. How's that feel?
That feels good.
Right. It's my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. See what I mean?
You've lost yourself for 18 years. What are you doing with your life?
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Now that feels like how
feels
dare
like
you
hell.
say that?
Right.
Yeah.
My opinion. Right. And this is kind of like when we can get a perspective that somebody else's opinion is not our truth. His opinion is not her truth. Right. But when we own it, if there's a part of us that believes it, so there's a part of me that when somebody says any God-fearing person would know, like, if you're gay, you're going to go to hell. Okay. Like, I've heard that before, right? You've heard that before?
Yeah.
Okay. If there's a part of me that has, that feels insecure about being gay or feels some kind of shame, which I do after being in the closet for so long, I'm always afraid of rejection. And it's gotten a lot better because, like, whatever at this point. But
because we're old.
Yeah, we're dying anyway. But it's gotten better. But still, I mean, there's a little person inside of me that says they're not going to like me, and they're not going to like me because I'm gay. But them liking me or not liking me has nothing to do with me. Has everything to do with that person.
Am I really okay with myself?
Exactly.
And that moment in the car after talking to you, I was like, I am. At that moment was my truth.
Yeah, and people in our lives are going to get self-righteous with us because they want to protect us, right? So everybody's going to be like, hell yeah, that guy's a jerk, and what's he, like, hell yeah, you have every right to be outraged because you've been sacrificing yourself and being a people pleaser for 18 years.
Right.
So it's also, I think, and this is what I talk about in this like little journey back to self-acceptance is, if there is a part of us that gets our needs met by self-rejection, and people-pleasing is self-rejection, it is trying to make somebody else happy so that they'll like me, right?
Yeah.
Instead of it's okay to be nice to people. That's not what I'm saying. But if I'm people-pleasing so that I don't get rejected, I'm rejecting myself. So is there a part of that in it? Maybe 5%, maybe 10%, it doesn't matter. But if somebody says something about you and it lands, then it's a great place to look at yourself. It's a great place to say, like, okay, what part of me believes what he said? But he's the one that's been injured, and he's the one lashing out. If we own his stuff, I think we're done.
I mean,
we're done.
Totally. And in my self-righteousness in the beginning, maybe I shouldn't even go back to the beginning.
You can. Go full circle. Bring it.
Bring it?
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say. This is what happens.
In your self-righteousness in the beginning. It's okay.
Gone.
Yeah.
It'll come back.
We drank a lot.
Dead brain cells.
It's true. I mean, how much do you care about this? Go, bring it.
Came back.
Bring it, yeah.
In the beginning of the letter, I realized that he was just hurt.
Yeah.
But then when I started to get angry, I wanted to tell everyone I wasn't even against him. I always wanted him to be a part of the organization. All this explaining and justifying when that wasn't the point.
No.
It's just fascinating to me. And, thank you for your part in, my 12-hour journey of, figuring it out, because it's so important for me to look at myself and my behaviors and what I'm doing in the world. So thanks.
Absolutely. Anything else, bud?
No. Way to go, Fred.
Thanks. Love you.
We don't know what we're doing here.
This is the lesbian hug. Okay.